This is Alexa Linton, and you're listening to the Whole Horse Podcast. I'm coming to you from the Cowichan Valley on beautiful Vancouver Island in Canada, and I'm excited to be bringing amazing instructors from around the world to share their knowledge about all the ways that we can keep ourselves and our horses well and happy, and about some of the cutting edge techniques, training, and different aspects that are coming into the horse industry and changing it from within. I'm so excited you're here, and I'm excited about the times that we live in and the shifts that are happening in the horse industry before our eyes. Let's get started. Hey everyone, it's Alexa Linton here, and you, as you know, are on the Whole Horse Podcast, and we're on episode 52 today. 52, and I have back one of my fave guests. We've been bringing them all back these last few episodes. Heather Nelson, welcome.
Hello. You know what I think was actually kind of cool, Alexa, and I don't know if you remember this. The first time I was on the podcast, we had to social distance because I had a cold.
Oh, shoot, I do remember that. That's right.
Even though we live in the same town. And now we're doing it again. But, not because of a cold.
No, we're both feeling pretty good right now, which is excellent. We're in the midst of COVID-19 crisis here in British Columbia and beyond. And so, as you all know, I've been recording some more episodes because I got time.
We all got
time. And in fact, right now, as we record, it is 8:15 p.m. on a Saturday evening. And Heather and I, this is what we're up to on our Saturday night. Coming to you.
I wasn't going to be out on a hot date anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
My average Saturday evening was not wilder than this before we were stuck in our houses by government ruling.
Absolutely. The wildest it gets tonight is I have this amazing galaxy background that I figured out on Zoom that Heather gets to enjoy for
Alexa looks
the
like she's
interview.
coming to me from the stars.
Yeah, just so you know, you can get virtual backgrounds on Zoom, everybody.
And I'm jealous. Like, I'm super jealous. I put my fish tank behind me just so that I could pretend that I was by the sea, but you can barely even see it. So
yeah, I might need to put maybe a small clip of one of our videos. Although I promised Heather that there would be no video because
it's okay.
Neither of us have
really matter anymore. Nobody's
really
leaving their houses. Nobody's doing personal hygiene
anymore. Who's brushed their hair? It's fine. I definitely haven't put makeup on. The other day I put mascara on, immediately cried it off. So I was like, no more of that. We're just leaving that off.
Did I ask what caused this crying, Jag?
No, I've just been a little emotional lately, just with all the things going on. So yeah, I don't even remember. It's a blur.
You released it.
I did. I let it go. Processing through. Yes. And tonight with Heather, because neither of us are going to be traveling for a little bit, and we're both thankfully stuck at home with our ponies right now, we were going to talk about the training of magical unicorns.
Yes, because I told Alexa the other day that what I was doing while I was in my seclusion was just focusing on creating. I wanted to come out of this time with magical unicorns. So she wanted to know, what does that involve?
I do. I mean, I don't know any person listening to this podcast that's not riveted at this moment. I mean, maybe some.
I know everybody wants a magical unicorn, honestly. And what I thought was, is this not the best opportunity? Here I am, pretty much predominantly stuck in my yard. I am extremely fortunate because my horses happen to be here too. I'm not stuck in an apartment or something. I have 5 acres. Horses are here. I'm here. And so I thought to myself, why not create magical unicorns in this downtime?
I absolutely love it. Because I want to know personally
how to create a magical unicorn.
I do. Okay,
absolutely. Well, I thought number one step really in creating in the magical unicorn process is to invest in my relationship with my horses.
Mm.
That and what does that investment look like for me? Because I know that investment in relationship looks like different for everybody when it comes to their horses. But for me, a big piece of that, and you know this, is that passive time that I spend with them when I'm journaling. That it's
Mm-hmm.
really vital to me to spend time just like sitting around with them, doing very little. And I've really been trying to focus in this time about like going inward to understand. I kind of like I always like to reevaluate at certain points in my life, and I feel like this is a perfect time to go inward and reevaluate where I'm at and kind of get creative moving forward. And I like to do that with my horses. So I spend time sitting with them and hanging out. That's our passive time, but then we're also doing other things. Like I've been taking them out on more road walks lately. So we go and see the neighborhood, and also investing time really in like their education. I thought about different things that I had been focusing on versus what I really wanted to be focusing on. And as I told you before we started here, I mean, Liberty's my thing, but it hasn't been something that I've been putting a ton of focus on lately.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided in part of the magical unicorn process, I'm really going to focus on my Liberty with all three of them. And when I brought each horse out, it was really interesting to see the things that were working and the things that were still really good, and then some of the holes that had either crept in or things that I had left out. And so I felt like in the magical unicorn process, we can't have any holes. Like
No.
we've got to educate those gaps, like for example, Sailor. Now, he loves to come out and work. He's like just this little soldier of working, but I actually don't do a lot of Liberty with him. I mean, he for sure will, like, if you want to go up to a mounting block, he could be like loose out in the. I mean, he might tell you have to go to the mounting block, right? Like he could be loose in the arena and he'll march up to the mounting block and park himself and demand I get on his back. That will happen. But if I wanted to just say like walk all around the arena or do a series of obstacles, he wouldn't really know what I was talking about. It's not something that I've like say really done with him. But he can free lunge like nobody's business. Like he'll do like gorgeous lunge circle around me. He really understands that. But like just walking with me, he doesn't know. And so it was kind of interesting to like just find out that that hole was there. That was something that I hadn't really actually done a lot with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I focus on other things with him. And his favorite thing is like long reining. So I've been long reining him at Liberty. So there's no rein at all. But I do a lot of long reining with him right now, and I can steer him around all sorts of different things, long reining, and yet he doesn't know how to walk next to me, like at
Okay.
Liberty.
Back the train up. I'm so curious. How on long reins at Liberty?
Okay, well, it's just the position, right? So long
Okay.
reining as a position, and that's the position you take more by the hindquarters so that you can deal more with the hindquarters. And Sailor likes that position because if I'm out in front of him, he really harkens back to his stallion life and he feels like he should drive me. Or like even if I'm quite next to him in like the just leading position, he often feels like he should drive me. If I'm working back in long reining position and I'm actually preparing to drive him in the cart, so I do a lot of the long reining, he's really relaxed then. Like his ears are all flippity floppity and he really lets his neck and back go. He's swinging along if I work with him in long reining. And when I long rein him, I almost always, like I would say 99%, do it with just one single line. So I just have like say the lunge line and I work over into the crossover position from lunging to long reining, and then I drive him all over the arena with just that single line. And so then now I've just removed the line. So there is no line, but I just move into the position by his hindquarters and I still have my hand for signaling
Yep.
and then I still have my whip, and he knows so many different cues from the whip through the academic work. Like he knows outside rein and inside rein. Like he knows how to have the whip be positioned by his neck to guide him.
Yep.
That's what I mean by rein cues. And I can also control his hindquarters and their positions. So I really can literally drive him all over the arena and like in directions that I want him to. Just by my position alone and by my hand signals and whip signals and by voice. Like, so he knows when I say whoa, he stops on
Yeah.
a dime, right? So he's really good with that kind of thing, and he's quite relaxed about it. And then it's easy to work into crossover position with him into lunging, even at liberty. So you can, be by his hindquarters, but then open your hand out and invite him, and he'll guide around you in the circle. But then if I want to like walk up in position, say by his girth or to the shoulder or to his head, he's a little bit like, what are you doing? I don't get it. And then he like drifts away. So I realized, oh, that's a hole in the magical unicorn process. Because a lot of people would see our other stuff and they'd be like, that's so cool. How do you do it? But there's a hole if you can't just basically walk next to me. So that is an area where we are working for sure. And like with extra, she loves working at liberty. So it was a little bit like a breath of fresh air for her. She immediately like opened up more in her energy when I was like, from now on, we only do liberty. She's like, perfect. This is great, because then you can't be so, I don't know. She doesn't really like the idea of any kind of limitations or controls in her world, but she never leaves me, even if we're doing like really hard stuff. So all of her same hard work, she still stays right in it. Like if we're doing haunches in, or even her collection work, in the trot, she stays right there. So there was no hole there. But sometimes there's just with her like a little bit of a, I would say, still a hole in the softness aspect, because she's her, right? She's a bit of a dragon, and so working on that. But also I've been riding her just totally bridleless, no neck rope, no nothing, and just moved more into that again as well, and just see, okay, like how does this work? How's our steering work? How is she really understanding me from the seat? And just really checking and feeling into these things. And I feel like that's all part of investing in our situation.
Yeah. And how much time in a day would you say you're spending on these various things
Well, if
right
I
now?
work with horses, I only work with them for like 20 minutes, right? Each one, they get like a 20-minute
Yeah.
class. Usually, Sailor tries to get more than that. He's always trying to eke out more time. So at the end of class, he gets very agitated when we're walking back to the gate. I've never seen a horse like him in my life, right? So it's like I try to walk him back to the gate, and his ears go flat to his head, and he tries to cut me off. He's like, "We're not ending the class now." And I'm like, "Yes, we are." And then I kind of have to like drag him out with the cane, drag him off stage. And then he has to go back to his home. And then I work the other horses. And after I'm done working them, he's standing back at the gate again. And he's like, "So it's my turn?" I'm like, no, you had your class. I've got other things to do. I've never met a horse like him in my life, Alexa. He's such a weirdo. But that's great that
Yeah, I was gonna say.
so open to everything. And like when I see him, like even the other day, he's lying down. They were all lying down. And I go out there, and I was like, well, who's going to come and do something with me? And Exeter looked at me like, hello, I'm on my nap right now. Whimsy didn't even look. She was just flat out sleeping. She's like, who cares that you showed up, Heather? Sailor hops right up. Like he hops up from his lying down, walks right over, and he's like, class time? And I was thinking, what if every horse could be like this? Like to have that much like openness. Like when I'm trying to ask myself these days, like, how do I want my horse to feel about working with me?
Yeah.
How do I want them to feel when they're in the class with me? Now him, okay, obviously he's pretty damned excited, but like with extra, same, because I think like, okay, she doesn't enjoy as much when she's working with the tack, I guess, because but like I said, she doesn't really like being told what to do. But if she thinks that it's really something she's really engaged in herself, then she will open up to it, because she always works with everything that I want to work on, and she tries really hard to figure it out. But there's a difference, like there's a difference in her expression when it's at liberty versus when it's not at liberty, in her case. And I noticed with Whimsy is different too. So Whimsy, when I work at liberty, there isn't a difference in expression, but she suddenly knows things that she didn't know online. Now that's a mystery to me, because I think when you take all the lines away, you usually find out what you have left over.
Right.
So like with Sailor, I found, oh, he doesn't know how to walk next to me as soon as the line's gone. Okay, that's an area that he's obviously confused. He's missing some information. I need to
Yep.
school that. Well, Whimsy's kind of the opposite. You can have her on the line and she does things, but it's kind of half-assed. And you take all the lines away, and suddenly she's this super educated horse, and she understands how to do things that are quite intricate. And so I think that tells me a thing or two just about how she feels about it. Like
Yep.
she feels like if there aren't any lines, she's willing to offer me more than if there are. So
Maybe the stress levels go down for her,
yeah,
and so she
maybe like
can
maybe she
think.
doesn't have to think about it in the same way or something. I don't know. But for me, it's been an interesting study in the whole idea of creating magical unicorns. I like to see like how do my horses feel? How do they understand the information that I'm
Yep.
presenting?
Yep.
I'm checking what have they understood. I mean, whether they're online or not online is like, yeah, how do they feel about the class? How do I feel? How I feel about them. Sometimes I can get a little too control freakish. I think all of us horse people can.
Mm-hmm.
And I find I'm more just like relaxed and more playing with them right now. And yet at the same time, we're still developing really good work, right? We're still working towards collection. We're still doing all of our side movements, but we're also still really working on swinging through the spine. And so my focus is still there, but like it's kind of like I'm checking a whole bunch of things right now. I'm checking all my gauges. I'm checking like how's my horse feel? How do I feel?
Yep.
Where's the relaxation? Where's the understanding? Where's the understanding online? Where's the understanding no lines? And I think that's just really important if we're going to check all those. See,
Yeah. I know for Diva, like she's got like her haunches in which way? Her haunches in one way is like so good, and then the other way she's like, I have no idea what you're asking me right now. Like it just doesn't land for her well. Obviously, I
yeah.
need a lesson, but like it's just, it's so interesting to see like even the different sides and like, where there's stiffness or
Yes, it's like you're measuring in and you're tuning in and you're paying attention
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
of course not like the important thing, not being suddenly frustrated like Jesus, she knows it on one side. Why doesn't she know it on the other side? Like,
No.
it's being really open and flexible to that.
Yeah, I'm
So
patient with that for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because sometimes I think horses don't even fully understand. Like I've noticed for sure in moving shoulders that sometimes they'll move the shoulders so beautifully one way, and then the other way, I honestly get the feeling they don't even seem to realize they have a leg and a shoulder on that side because they're always trying to
Yep.
move the opposite one. You
And
know,
as a
so
body
there's no
worker, I
awareness.
can affirm that they lose track of things, right? Like certain and that the body kind of works differently on both sides. Like it's so differently connected. So that would make a lot of sense. That
Well, and I even more so want that like that softness through the whole body, like with what I was working on today with like the sailor, just working because he can be a little bit of such a keener. Sometimes it works against him because he gets into this little like headspace where he's like, I know what we're doing. This is what we're doing, and he's
right.
like marching around, but he's like he's really stiff, right? So he isn't in this like really soft open blank slate learning place. He's in this like I know it, I know this, and he
Mhm.
will figure out new things, but it's different. Then there's this like not the soft malleable openness to it, and so I'm really trying to focus on that as like okay, well how are they mentally, how are they physically as I'm working through these different
Yeah.
challenges, or even like for him, I don't tend to, in the same way that I haven't like maybe like brushed my hair super much today. I don't groom a lot in the winter. Really, I don't.
No.
They're so freaking filthy all the time, right? Like you turn them out and they like douse themselves in clay
Yeah.
again, and then I get
Yeah.
an asthma attack as
Totally.
soon as I
Completely. By the
brush.
way, everybody on Vancouver Island, like having your horses in the rainforest, not ideal in the winter,
No,
especially if you don't blanket them.
they get
Yes.
so caked in clay, and then you can't even groom it if it's wet
No.
because all you're doing is pottery at this
Yeah.
point. You're just sculpting a horse. You're just
Totally.
moving clay around on your horse's coat,
Yep.
and then when it does dry, it becomes the dustiest thing in the world. And
Yes.
I'm just compromising my lungs. We don't want to do that during COVID-19. So haven't been grooming a lot. But not the second to last trip to Belgium, so the one in December, I came home and for some reason he acted like he'd never been groomed in his life. He was nervous of the brush. And I was like, what happened? Like, I was grooming him before I left, no probs. I come back from, I guess it was a month I was gone, and he acts scared of the brush. Like, he'd reverted back to his feral days. Although, interestingly, when he was feral, I pretty much tamed him by brushing him because he loved to be brushed. So I don't get it.
Interesting.
So I don't know where this came from, and I was like, probably he needs a session with Alexa for body talk to find out if some sort of like weird mental trauma showed up.
Yeah.
But anyway, whatever this is, I decided, okay, he needs to be groomed every day before class because now he's acting like he's never been groomed in his life. So we're doing that. The ladies don't need that. They're fine about grooming. They don't care.
Yes.
No,
How is
no.
Sailor feeling now about grooming?
Oh, today, pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
So, on the everyday grooming program. So today was his like, I don't know, 5th day on that program. Then he was fine. Yeah, he was like, okay, now you can brush my tail. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then he was cool with it. But it was really weird how that showed up for him.
Yeah,
That
it can
something he
happen.
hadn't,
Yep.
I don't know, hadn't been doing for a while, and he
Totally.
just reverted.
Yep.
So, but
Absolutely.
I would say that step-by-step thing too, because I was thinking about the hand walking. Now, all my horses are pretty good about taking them around the trails, but if I'm thinking about like other people who might want to be starting to hand walk, don't feel like you have to go for a big walk around the neighborhood at the beginning. Like, if you just walk your horse to the end of the driveway and back, that's cool.
Yeah.
Gradually work from there.
Baby steps, right?
Yes, baby steps.
Well, and I'm curious too with Sailor and the grooming, just to rewind back just a sec. Like, it's an interesting thing because I think people see this where, their horses, oh my God, I thought they were over this and now it's a thing again. What have you kind of been working with him with grooming? Like, do you click, like, do you treat him?
I'm clicker training him right now with the grooming.
Yeah.
That's definitely the language he understands too,
Yeah.
right? So it's like when he stands there and he's quiet about this horrid brush going over his coat, which he used to love, then yeah, he gets clicked and treated. And there's of course a part of me that's kind of like, well, you're just gonna have to get used to this. But he is still getting clicked and treated if he's standing really nice
That's okay.
not, moving to escape from this deadly acid I'm pouring on him with this soft brush. Then he is being rewarded for that. Yeah. And then part of it also is just kind of like, okay, well, we're grooming every single day, so you will be getting used to this.
Yeah.
For sure.
You're hanging out
Playing
here.
with pool noodles with him the other day because I want to teach him to drive, and I'm going to put the pool noodles in the shafts of his harness. And so then we had to get used to pool noodles, and that was pretty funny because that was all like clicker based that I worked with him on the pool noodles.
Okay.
And he had a good time about that because then of course he's driving the learning on that. We were at Liberty and he could run away when he wanted to, or he could come up and check out the pool noodle, and then he gets his click and his treat for that.
Nice. So, and would you ask him to like touch it or just be?
Yeah, I was asking him to touch it, and of course he gets that extremely fast because he understands that. So touching it, that was really quick. But then if it was swooping out to touch him, well, that took a little bit longer for him to get used to. But with my principal, it's always like, okay, if he runs away, no problem. He can run away. He can get confident that, okay, next time when he comes in, if it's too much for him, he can run away. So that's, working so much with like my Liberty. And then very quickly he's like, oh, it's just a pool noodle. Okay, yeah, I can do that. And I videotaped the whole thing, so I'll probably do something around that because it was really interesting watching him. Because of course I even ended up just chasing him around to the pool noodle because it's like, we're gonna turn this into a game, and I'm like running around chasing him with the pool noodle, and then I run away and he chases me with the pool noodle. And then the next day, and then I left it at that. I was like, that's fine. So I still hadn't like put it all over his body. Then the very next day I bring him out and he instantly lets me just put it all over his body.
Right.
Because he just made the connection from the one day to the other. And I think like back if I look at my old style like horsemanship training, that would be like the opposite of what they think would happen. Because I never did get him in that very first class. I never got him to the point where I was like rubbing him all over with the pool noodle or like anything like that. he was touching it, he was getting clicked. It was touching him occasionally, getting clicked. Sometimes he was running away. I chased him with the pool noodle. He pranced around and snorted. He chased me with the pool noodle. I put him away. And then the next day, he's like, yeah, totally cool with the pool noodle. No problem. But that is not what I learned in like horsemanship training, where it was like, you touch them until they stop moving and then you take it away. It was like the opposite of that, really.
Oh, completely opposite. But it sounds much less stressful for him.
Oh, yeah. He thought it was interesting.
Right? Yeah, fun. And
curious.
he's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
He
cool.
was like, oh, this is really interesting, this pool noodle business. And the very next day, I could like put both pool noodles like over his back and ask him to walk. And I could put one on either side because I'm preparing to stick them in the
Yep.
shafts, right? To replace the shafts. So I could already do that like the very next day. And that was just kind of a fun experiment. But that's part of the magical unicorn process too. Experiments. I like to run experiments. See how the horses feel about it. As long as I'm not stressing them out and they're not getting all worked up, as long as they can be relaxed and thinking, that's for me the important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to hear more about Sailor the Magical Unicorn. And
he has such a big following.
He's great. He's so interesting.
Fans everywhere. I might have told you this before. Like, I run into his fans in weird places. They're not even horse people.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'll be in town. I'll be somewhere, and they'll be like, "You own Sailor." And I'm like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Because he gets shared a lot on Facebook. Like,
wow, that's cool.
That's cool. Horse people, they just think he's hilarious, and I think it's because he's such a weirdo, and he really is such a weird little horse because he just loves to do things and he's so interested in everything. But yeah, even like the pool noodle thing, I videotaped the whole thing and I haven't looked at it, but I bet it's interesting because just like
I'm sure
watching how he relates to everything. And when I thought about like how I wanted to teach him, and I always I like to add problem solving to every horse's life, right? Like I like to kind of create like a weird little puzzle for them to solve. And I've done a lot of that with him. And I think that's one of the reasons that he is like so engaged in trying to figure things out all the time, because I usually try to set up at some point in our training some sort of little puzzle for him to figure out. And that might be something like pool noodles that he has to figure out, what do I want with these pool noodles? What are we going to do with these? And so that's where he comes from in his brain, and he's trying to figure out, what does Mother want now? What game are we going to do? What is this all about? As opposed to tolerating my existence, which sometimes I feel that's how the mares feel about me.
I don't want to solve your puzzles today.
Yeah, exactly. Take your puzzles elsewhere. Sometimes they're into puzzles, but that's not been like traditionally how I trained them. Like they've been trained with so many different methods since. I mean, Whimsy's 21. I've had her since the day she was born, right? Extra is gonna be 16 this year. I had her since the day she was born, and they've gone through all these different like iterations of my training style.
Yeah, they could be a meme, your horses.
They really could be, right?
Right? Like, oh, what is it now? You know, like
like whenever I come back from Europe, I swear, the Extra, she's like, oh God.
the eye roll.
Yeah, she gives me this eye roll like, oh, you've come back, you've got so many ideas, you think you know what you're doing. You know nothing. That's Extra for you, for sure.
Oh my God, I have so much, like, I just get it. Because Extra and Diva, I think, are like,
I think that they could be
soul sisters in that
sure.
regard. Yeah, for sure. So they both, like we were talking about before the interview, they both kind of do this like, why? Why are we doing this thing? You know?
Though with their personality also, like, you really do have to win them over.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, because they're not going to give you something just because you showed up, right? You have to be smart about how you deal with them. And that's a really big aspect to working with Extra, because she does amazing stuff with me at Liberty out there. Like, it surprises me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always kind of like, I can't believe she's staying in this. Like, I really can't believe it, because this is hard. This is like me doing my workout this morning and all those squats, and I was barely staying in it, and she doesn't necessarily know why she's there, but she really is invested. She's really staying there. She's really making such a huge effort, and yet her natural personality really is why. So I think it's a testament to our relationship that she
I was
stays,
gonna say it's a huge
right?
testament to your relationship.
Because
Yeah.
well, I did try a little bit of I tried a little bit of stuff where I was working with like some Piaf work on the rail at Liberty, and to that, because she hates backing up, and I told her, okay, good, like back up, and then we're gonna like trot forward out of it, and she's fine with this whole trot forward out of it thing, but when I told her to back up, she's like, no. And so then she just turned and sort of sauntered off slowly. And then I was like, fine, we won't work on that exercise anymore. And then she's gonna be like, okay, cool. And we go into it. But I could still access a little bit of the collection of Piaf work through the free lunging and just, coming into collection in the travers. And then she'll do it there. That was fine because
Right.
I wasn't blocking her in the front, telling her to back up. So it was a little bit more on her terms, but we still came around to my terms
Yes.
in the end. And so
Yeah.
with her, everything's a negotiation. But she, as long as it's fair, then, and as long as I'm open and listening and suggesting, she'll try anything for me, right? But that took years to get to
I
that.
was gonna say, like, that's probably been a process to get to
Yeah,
that place.
that was definitely not an overnight. Like when some people ask me, because I do notice like a lot of my clients seem to have, as time has gone on, I've noticed they're having an easier and easier time with Liberty. Like if I'm teaching a clinic, first day almost everybody's horses are following them all around, doing all sorts of things with them, and that didn't necessarily happen years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you really why, but occasionally people bring a personality like Extra, and they expect that they're going to have this like great connection right away, and I'm like, with Extra, that took me like years.
Long time.
That wasn't
Yep.
immediate. That she was just like, yeah, I'll follow you and do everything. She really needed to have a reason,
Yeah.
and I had to take very slow, painstaking time to give her that reason. And so, in the whole grand scheme of magical unicorns, if you've got that personality, take your time because you might
Yeah.
have to. But if you get them in the end, I think you get an even more special horse in a way because she could do something else. She doesn't have to listen to me. She doesn't have to. She knows it. She doesn't
Yeah.
have to do things.
Totally.
So if she's there because she really wants to be there and she's actually interested. Because I'm not gonna. She doesn't get punished for leaving. She can go do her own thing if she wants to. So she really chooses to be there, and I think that makes it more special.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And for those of you listening that have a horse like that, yeah, it's a big deal when
Yeah,
they.
and it's like just take your time. You'll
Yeah.
get there,
Yeah.
and
For
don't get
sure.
frustrated.
For sure. Yeah.
Take it one small step at a time, seeing about like, and I think it's so much too about like seeing what does your horse enjoy doing. And I often tell people about Extra. She likes to stomp on things. That's one of her favorite things to do. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
smashing stuff is one of her favorite things. So it's one of the first things we do when we go in the arena. We go smash some things with her hoofs. So she likes to do it, right? She likes to stomp on pylons and things like that. That makes her really happy. So we kill some things and then we go to work. And
I love that.
for her, that's pleasing, right? Because she also likes to try to stomp everything in her paddock. Good luck to her friends. But
Yes.
poor Whimsy, who has to live with her.
Mm-hmm.
She gets stomped like every 6 months by Extra. But anyway, because she likes to do that, we do that. So we do some of the things that she likes to do, and then we do the things that I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this back and forth. I don't expect her just to come out and only do things that I like to do.
Yep.
So even the other day, she loves to see what the neighbors are doing. She's the nosiest horse that I've ever seen. And I have neighbors who have a vineyard. Well, they grow grapes, but they don't do wine. But anyway, they're always working up on this hill. And when I was trying to do Liberty with her, but I was asking her to do some weight shifts and standing, and she wanted to stare at the neighbors. And I thought, okay, I could make a scene about this, and I could like demand that she pays attention to me, although good luck, we're at Liberty. But instead I was like, okay, let's just go check out what the neighbors are doing. So we walked over to the fence and we stared at the neighbors for a good long time. I couldn't see anything. she could, I guess, or she
Yeah.
could hear it. I couldn't see a damn thing. And then I was like, is that enough? And then I took her back to the standing work, and then she did awesome at it, right? Because I let her do the thing that she wanted to do first, and then she came around to doing the thing that I wanted to do. And I think so often people feel like it should always be what they want to do, or they're giving something up. I don't know, but it's more like just friends. Like if your
Yeah,
friend wants
well,
to
in
do something,
relationship, right? Like
do it.
it'd be a crummy relationship with another human if like everything was about what they wanted to do and you never actually got to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, like
You
who
know?
wants to do that?
Who wants that? Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody. So I
Totally.
think it's like important to have it like be a two-way street. So yeah, sometimes we do what Extra wants to do, like trying to stomp and destroy things,
Yeah.
and or stare at the neighbors, and then we go do what I want to do, which is like practice our haunches in at the trot in groundwork position now. So I'm running backwards at
Yes.
Liberty,
I
and
was
she's
gonna
trotting
say,
towards me, and she's doing her travers, and I'm finally able to do that. I tried a canter transition in the ground. I knew I was going to have to run backwards real hard though, Alexa, and I'm not that fit. But I tried, but I realized I didn't actually have a very good way of cueing her into the canter, because my cue for the canter is I skip
oh yeah,
forward.
like no.
Now here I am backwards, and I was like, I don't know how to skip and show. I don't know how to skip and show her this, and so she was like very confused. She shook her head a little bit, and then she just trotted a little faster. That she was. I think that's how she interpreted my skip, was this weird head shake
Yeah,
thing. She's
totally.
like, you look like you've got an issue, so I'll just have the issue too, and we'll just trot around. So I had no luck with that, but it's on my goals. Goals is to have her cantering, and I'm just jogging backwards, but she's collected enough in her canter that she doesn't just run past me or run me down. So she can do it in the trot now. 2 years ago, absolutely could not do it in the trot. She had to run past me. She couldn't collect enough to do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And she'd get so mad at my suggestion. Like her ears would just pin. She'd just be like, "You're in the way, Heather." And now that's not a problem.
Right.
So she can maintain relaxation and do it at the same time. So I'm like, oh, that's development we got there.
Nice. Do you ever film any of the work with Extra?
Yes, I do. But the annoying thing right now, especially with this whole social distancing, is I can't have my good helper Saskia come and film for me. So I put it on the tripod, but then
right.
you're often disappearing off into the distance, so it just kind of looks like a little ant in the distance.
Yeah.
Whereas when I played with the pool noodle, I could play with the pool noodles and sailor right up by the camera.
Yeah.
But if I'm like working out into the arena, it's not so good. So I need to get rich so I can get myself a Pixio, one of those robot cameras.
Right.
That's what I need.
That'd be pretty cool.
That
Yeah.
would be awesome. Kenneth actually has one, and he hasn't even used it in a year. I don't think he's even taken it out of the packaging.
Goodness, Kenneth.
I know. I told him. Last time I was there, he's like, "This is your job, to figure out how to use the Pixio." Well, I did figure out how to use the Pixio, but it still never came out of the packaging. So anyway, that's not part of creating a magical unicorn. But when you're asking about these things, yes, I want to film this stuff, and I do want to turn it into like, some things will be like free, and some things will be like paid courses, and
yeah, for sure.
That's something I'm excited about doing. Probably like, I don't know, after I get them a little bit more magically unicorned up, maybe get some of that fluff shedded out
down the road when they're looking pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
We're almost there. We're getting there.
Yeah, some of the fluff is coming out, so we'll be able to do that. And I guess another piece of this too is just like acknowledging the positive of what they're doing. Like really, when they're doing something amazing, just really lavishing them with praise. And
do you click, or are you like, this is amazing? Do you like?
Both.
Yep.
It depends on the mood too. Like sometimes I come out with my actual clicker. Other times there is no clicker. Sometimes I'll use my tongue to make a clicky sound. Other times there's no click sound, no nothing, and I'm just like saying, "Yeah, you're awesome."
Yeah.
Of course, Sailor interprets every positive. Like as always, he's just like, "Ha ha, it was so good," and he stands up very tall and sometimes nickers at me, even if there's no click or whatever. But as long as I say something that's positive at all, that's definitely where he goes to.
Oh, he sounds so much like my Chihuahua.
He is. He's more like a dog for sure than a horse. you met him, you'd be like, oh, that's just a little dog.
Yeah, yeah. It happens sometimes. You get like the dog horse kind of
Yeah,
thing
he's
going
dog
on.
horse
Mhm.
for sure.
Mhm.
I don't know
It's
how.
interesting because I wrote an article a long time back. I don't remember if you remember. It was about like horse constitutions, like
Yes,
around like Chinese medicine elements. Do you
I
remember
did, but
that?
you should remind me anyway.
Okay, so gear horses
Well,
make me
remind us
laugh
all.
because you have like basically three fairly distinct
Very.
elements. So so how it works is that, well, the idea when I learned it was that there's these five elements, so fire, water, earth, metal, and wood. And each one shows up in all of us in varying amounts. But oftentimes we have one that's really predominant or more predominant, and horses are the same. So, and sometimes that's like a healthy thing, and sometimes that's not as healthy a thing, depending on the balance. So, this ties in with Chinese medicine and meridians and all of that as well, health stuff too. But it's super interesting because each kind of predominant element has different aspects to it. So when I hear about you talking about your horses, it makes me think of or your unicorns, it makes me think of this piece because Sailor is sort of like what we would call a really healthy wood element horse.
Okay, so what's the wood part?
So the wood in the unhealthy wood element, they tend to be very controlling, and they get like
He's so
frustrated really
controlling.
fast
Yeah.
about things, especially like when their humans aren't like keeping up. So
Yes.
a wood horse is often the one like on a jump course that like takes over from their person because they
Mhm.
know it better.
Yes. So Sailor.
They know it better, and they like, yeah, they are just gonna do it themselves. So they love to work, love to work, and they're very like motivated by work and movement. So yeah, so they're a really interesting horse to have.
Well, and he's always a little bit too speedy too. Like
I was
that's
gonna
just the
say
big
they're
thing.
quick and
suppleness and sometimes slowness because he's always like he gets marching so much sometimes that he has like a quarter standardbred in him, and it shows up even though he's only a 12.3 hand pony. He starts to pace.
Well, and it's interesting with the wood element because it rules like the muscles and the fascia. So often with these horses, you'll have more like body tension than with other horses.
He is a block of wood. That is his challenge.
Right. And so they're hard to find the suppleness sometimes because they've got this like, I'm doing it, like this is happening. So they're an amazing horse in a lot of ways because they're so good at their job. But yeah, it's finding often the softness and the suppleness and fluidity.
He's like the cleanest little tank around.
Yeah,
for sure.
totally. And then extra, can you guess the element?
Fire.
Yeah. So extra is like this gorgeous chestnut color, right? And yes, she's like very, very obviously fire element. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so fire, like chestnut mares, they have a rep, right? And so that fire element, so you have a lot of it's very interesting though, they tend to be like a lot of they really like working. They actually like can get over exuberant about things sometimes.
Oh, she can get over exuberant and like like a buck can show up
exactly
pretty quickly.
Yeah, totally.
I have to be careful. Like I don't really want to long rein her. I don't want to be so close to those hindquarters.
Totally, because they can get quite we call it over, like the emotion of the fire element is joy, but you can also get like the overjoy, like like over the top kind of, so and they'll tend to get this kind of interesting reputation, the chestnut mares, but they tend to be like actually really amazing workers and really incredible when you can bond with them. The fire element is the heart and the small intestine and the heart protector meridian. So it's all about connection and relationship.
Well, and I noticed with her very much too, like if I don't spend my passive time with her, like journaling and stuff, she's
relationship is very important.
So if I'm spending actual time with her, bonding stuff with her, then she will go to the end of the earth for me. But if I haven't been doing that, she's very dismissive of me. And also she expects that I will have high standards, and she expects I will know what I'm doing.
Yes,
So I have to be smart
absolutely.
about it and good about it,
Yeah.
or she's not really interested in giving me the time of day.
For sure. And the small intestine, the emotion and the energy of it is discernment. So it's very like precise and like, yeah, what like it's what do I want to take in or not, right?
And
Because
she
it's like
really
that
likes
small
working with
intestine.
Kenneth because
What's that? Oh yeah.
she really likes to work with Kenneth because he's so clear and he has high standards.
Yep.
So she's like, yes, I'll work for this guy.
Totally.
But then she's been known to just punt other people right off
Yep.
the back within 5 minutes of the mounting block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not clear
Whereas
for her.
Sailor and Kenneth don't get on because they butt heads because
Yes.
Sailor's like, no, I know how this is all going to go. And Kenneth's like, no, I know how it's all going to go. And it's like, oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas I tend to defer a little more to Sailor's crazy ideas.
Yeah,
And he
totally.
and I are both kind of crazy, so it all works out.
Yeah.
Now, if I had to guess on Whimsy,
Come
I would
on.
say Earth. But what
Yes.
would you say?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
so talk about that one.
So earth element horses, super interesting horses. These are the horses you often find in like lesson programs and like,
He was a lesson horse.
right, steady eddies, that horse that you're like, they're dead broke. Yeah. I don't like that terminology at all, but these are the kind of horses that will often suppress a lot of things. So they could have like pain going on or saddle fitting issues or like lots of stuff going on, and they won't necessarily express it. They're very caretaker type horses.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll often have things show up in their body that way, and they're very, very generous as a typical rule. But because of the way that they can have like a dampness in their body, so sometimes arthritis or digestive stuff or stiffness. Yeah, and because they wear a lot of stuff, like they don't always tell us that things are going wrong. Like an extra kind of horse is going to be like, I have this thing, like
yes, exactly.
immediately, right?
Not going to put up with things if
No,
she's feeling something.
totally.
Whereas I feel sometimes at Whimsy, she'll just keep on pressing on sometimes until it gets too much.
But it takes time to get to that level, and oftentimes there's already a lot of stuff going on. So these are the horses we have to actually caretake a lot, just so that we like, okay, I know that they wear tension and they don't always share with us about, they're very stoic. So so that it's good to know that.
I'm really working with partly just making her life also a little bit more lively and interesting because she has spent so much time kind of like a little down, pushed to the side sort of thing. And so we have a lot of fun in our Liberty, like I let her like really express her. She's really liking this coming into the canter thing, and she likes to sometimes now add some extra embellishments. And if extra's doing that, I'm like, whoa, let's not. Like, hooves should not be flying. I don't need you to be a ninja right now. But with Whimsy, I kind of like, yes, let's do that. Like, hair flying, hooves flying. This is all good for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then she starts kind of coming more into herself. And of course, she needs so much help with things like the suppleness and the movement.
Totally.
But she's actually going really well. And so
that's
even
awesome.
like one of my boarders the other day was like, wow, she really moves nice for an old girl. I think, well, that's because we concentrate on that, right? Like that's really something I put into my work with her, trying to enhance her soundness. And soundness has always been a challenge for her.
Yep.
Like,
totally.
pretty much her entire life, really.
Totally. Yeah. And the emotion of the earth horse is worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so you'll often see those little worried lines above their eyes and like on their nose, and just this kind of like little worried eye. So it's that
and
sense
I always
of like,
feel like for her, she's always wondering what her position is in the herd and what her value is to me. And I feel like a lot of pressure around it because extra, I don't know. I think a lot of times she's like, pick somebody else, Heather. Just take somebody else. I'm fine. I'm having my nap or whatever. And I often feel like Wim's like, of course she's going to pick somebody else, not me. Like there's just like an Eeyore personality.
I was gonna say, and the earth element horse tends to have a bit of an Eeyore quality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do. Okay. Yeah. So that's how I can tell. Like and your three are really easy. Some horses, it's like, oh, I don't quite know. Like they're kind of a blend. I'm not sure. But your three are quite like, oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
'cause that is.
and Diva is interesting too. So my unicorn.
Yeah, Diva's interesting. I wouldn't know exactly where to put her. I would think she's a combination, but maybe
She's
even
a
some
bit more
water
of
in
a
there.
combo, but when I first got her, she was highly water horse.
Okay, that's what I would pick for her.
Yes. And so Diva, for anybody who hasn't seen her, is like very dark, dark bay, and she tends to just shine up in the summertime, like dapple, shiny. And often water horses, you can literally see yourself in their coats. So like Frisians, that sort of like black.
Do they have lots of hair usually?
Sometimes, but it's like super shiny typically.
Okay.
Like they get a lot of shine. So you'll see darker horses that are a little dull and it's not quite the same. But with your water horses, because they tend to be very emotional and they tend to be spooky oftentimes when they're imbalanced. Like Diva, when I first got her, would spook at anything. Like and they're very like things just, it's a lot for them sometimes just living in a human world. Like it's a lot of information. But yeah, they tend to be very emotional, often quite like kind of connected in these really interesting ways. Yeah, and they're a fascinating horse. So kidney bladder meridian. So they tend
Do
towards
you
more.
remember Whimsy's mom? Did you ever get to meet her?
I think
Maple
so.
Street?
Yep.
Okay, I think she was a water horse.
He was
then.
more of a water
Yeah.
horse for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And they tend towards like Diva, if I'm working with her, she tends towards more like kidney bladder stuff. So like working with her energy levels, working with her metabolism and endocrine system. Yeah.
So now in the theme of working and creating magical unicorns,
Yeah.
we're thinking about this type of thing,
Yeah.
and we're like bringing that into our work. What would you say with the water horse that you have to think about when you're educating a water horse?
It's super interesting with a water horse. Everything needs to be, I mean, I've learned this the hard way with Diva over the years, right? Like you've kind of seen my process for a long time. I find with her, she needs to be heard. It's super important for her. The intention, like my whole intention when I ride and work with her, has to be like we're having fun. We're going out and enjoying each other. It's very connection based, very flowing. I find with water horses, you have to kind of really get the fluids moving. She likes to like, we'll trot for a couple steps and then walk and then trot. She's got to get like the lube happening in her joints, right? And just like, okay, I got to get my head around this, and everything like slower and steady, and really working with them. So she's the kind of horse, and I've worked with it for years, where there'll be something sitting on the fence that's new and she's like, oh my god, and now I've just learned, like, I don't push her into it. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be hanging out with you and working with you, and like we're not gonna push it, and
whereas none of my personalities out there are spooky.
Yeah,
they really
totally
they don't really get phased by
Yep.
stuff unless, like, I don't know why Sailor decided that he didn't know about grooming.
Yeah.
But give him 1 month and that'll be gone and you'll
Yeah.
never see that again. So but no, they're not
Yeah.
spooky types at all.
It's interesting, hey? Yeah, and if you think back to Maple Street, you may have seen some of those like more water horse characteristics.
She was a more emotional
Yes.
personality than any of my horses now. All three of them are actually very steady, but they're steady in their own special ways. But I really do look upon all three of them as dependable, because even my fire horse Extra, I really, even just the other day, I was like, oh yeah, of course I could just jump on her with just my bareback saddle and no bridle, no neck rope, no nothing. I knew that she could be very dependable, and she really can be, as long as she knows what her job is. And went out there and rode figures, and she was great. But I got on Sailor this week as well with I should probably not be announcing this, because I don't think we're even, in some countries, not allowed to ride right now with COVID-19. Meanwhile, I'm like, here's my pony. He hasn't been ridden since last year. I didn't ride him since last year. No bridle, no saddle, no halter, no cavesson, no neck rope, no nothing. And I parked at the mounting block, and I was like, just get on, because he told me to, Alexa. So I got on and we rode off into the sunset, and I practiced some basic figures with him, but he's always such a little goer. So he started like trotting on his own, and I could tell him to whoa, and he would, but then he would still trot off again, and I was like, this is very bumpy, and I just hurt.
Well,
I
the nice
hurt my
thing about
knee last
Taylor,
year,
he's
right?
close to the ground. He's
Very close to the ground, but I was like, you know what? I hurt my knee last year jumping off him when the dogs came at him when I was riding him up the road. So I was like, no, I don't need to hurt my knee again.
You really don't.
I don't need that. So
Be
I just
smart,
told him to
everybody.
stop.
Be
Exactly.
smart.
Be smart. Do not clog up the ERs right now.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So I got off. I did. But
Good
then
job.
I was like, you know what? I'll probably do that again. And actually, it was interesting because the long reining helped him in his bridleless riding because he understood the rein aids from the whip so well that he actually, his steering was beautiful. And this is not a pony who's really even done much under saddle. Like he really hasn't been ridden very much.
Yeah.
But he was understanding so much, and it was like, again, I was like, oh, this is good. Again, testament to all the groundwork. Like,
damn,
on his horse, no bridle, no nothing, and he understood steering, and he understood whoa, and yeah, it was great.
Well, when all this is over, I need lessons with you again, apparently.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I think I even owe you. I think I owe you a lesson.
It's true. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, eventually here, everybody, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this, and we might have a little ways to go, but we're going to get there.
But it's an opportunity to go out there and create something with your magical unicorn. And if you can't see your magical unicorn right now because you're cut out of the barn, well, you can always be learning and studying. You can listen to Alexa's podcast or watch some videos or webinars or
Heather has amazing videos, so you can learn a bunch there. Yeah.
And I do want to create more of that. Of course, that's another goal over this time, right?
Totally.
Is to start creating some more educational content now that I'm not out in the arena doing it. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to make yet. Though probably this summer. It could be earlier than that. I do want to make like a big online training for my Liberty.
Nice.
Like I actually want to make like how to get started and how to work through.
I've been hoping for this. So that's awesome.
There've been some people hoping for it, and I hadn't created it because I wasn't really sure how to structure it. Like with my lunging course, I really knew how to structure it. With my Liberty course, I'm a little bit like, well, geez, my Liberty is like so much more airy-fairy. I wasn't 100% sure how to structure the course. But I'm taking this time to figure out my structure, and then when I can have somebody come out with a camera again and start taking some footage where they can zoom in, because of course Liberty's even tougher with tripod. Your horse just disappears off into the distance, and also I need to borrow some horses that don't know how to do Liberty for the course, because of course I need to take footage of my horses doing all their stuff, but that doesn't help people when they're like, okay, but how do you get started?
I might be able to help you with that.
That could be good,
right?
Because I need some horses that are going to leave. I need some horses that are going to go off grazing and aren't just going to come over and do stuff.
I have the ideal candidate for you. We'll talk about that another time. We're like at our hour, girl.
Yeah, what's coming down the pipe.
Oh, that's awesome! I'm stoked. Somehow it's been an hour. Just went by like a breeze.
So it's like, whee! But we stayed on track for the most part. I think we talked about what we said we were going to talk about.
I think we full on did. I mean, I went down a little rabbit hole on the Constitution thing, but I think it's interesting stuff.
Oh, no, I found that fascinating. And I actually think that fit right in because it's all part of understanding your own unicorn.
Yeah, well, it gives you more perspective on how they might respond to things. Also, just a little aside, if you have a metal horse, they're usually gray or like a dapple gray or like speckled white.
Are we allowed to ask about the personality right now?
Well, it's a really interesting one. I don't see them very often, the metal horses, but they tend towards like structural stuff because it's kind of like the Tin Man, you know?
Okay.
So like they can get a little there. It's all about like really opening them up and the lubrication again. Yeah. Fluidic movement. That it's interesting with the metal horses because they're grief. That's the emotion. That's kind of what we're all working with right now with lungs and large intestine and letting go. So they're an interesting horse. I don't see them super, super often. But when I do meet them, I like them a lot. Yeah. So yeah. Just a little aside for anybody who is like, I don't know about this other piece. And maybe I'll add at the bottom of this podcast, the article that I wrote long ago on all of
Yeah,
this,
you
so you can
totally
read
need to
some
do that.
more.
Absolutely. That's great.
Okay, sweet. And how do people get in touch with you, dear?
I think the best way these days is just to like follow me on Facebook.
Okay.
But like I have my Facebook page, Heather Nelson Liberty Training, but like make friends with me, like my personal page, because that's where I actually post the most stuff. And
Totally.
you can follow me on Instagram. It's HN Liberty. I think those are the best ways.
Okay.
Of course, I have my website, heathernelsonlibertytraining.com. I tried to update that recently, so but I can't be like guaranteed that I always keep that super up to date. Whereas if you're friends with me on Facebook, these days I try not to share a bunch of extra stuff. I try to like keep it more to the horse stuff so that the horse people can be interested. And if anybody has questions about anything that I said tonight, like feel free to just like shoot me a message or something like that.
Sweet.
I'm very approachable.
She is. She's extremely approachable. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe one day I could get famous and then I could like not be approachable. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, okay, maybe I could get famous, but I couldn't ever picture myself not being approachable, especially if you're like, hey, I have brownies, then I'll immediately be approachable.
Oh, God, right? Especially right now. Heather's run out of
snacks in this house.
Heather's run out of dessert, everybody.
Recently.
It's not good.
I ran out.
Yeah, it's not good.
I'm too lazy to bake.
Yeah. I get into the chocolate chips and I'll eat like spoonfuls of honey or like spoonfuls of maple syrup, like just to get a kick. I
totally understand this. If I had chocolate chips, they'd be gone. My brother just told me he ate his whole bag. He had like a bag from Walmart, and they're gone. But I hadn't thought of the honey because I.
Oh yeah, that's
be
a
like
nice
Winnie
little.
the Pooh in the kitchen.
Oh yeah,
eat out of that.
Oh yeah, it works.
I found some popcorn kernels. They were in the bottom of my pantry, so I whipped up some popcorn.
Yes.
But chocolate's what I want.
I know. I'm sorry that I can't bring you any.
I have a sweet tooth. So now that we've talked about this, everybody's gonna be craving something.
Sorry, everybody.
Podcast.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, we're signing off. It's like 9:15 on a Saturday night right now.
Hey, that's my bedtime.
I know. It's like it's bedtime here. So, thank you, Heather, for talking about your unicorns.
Thanks for having me on the podcast again. Yeah. I always like being on here.
It's so fun. So great. Yeah, appreciate you being here. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed yourself as much as we did. Yay. And we'll talk to you all soon. I wanted to share a little of what I'm up to and my offerings right now, especially in this challenging time. On Wednesday mornings, 9:30 Pacific, I'm offering a free remote session to clients, community, podcast listeners, and beyond, and would love to see you there. It's a 45-minute session, and we go into a lot of the things we talk about in the podcast, and you also get to experience my energy medicine work, which is pretty exciting. I've included the link down below at wholehorse.ca under the episode that you're watching. As well, I offer remote sessions for you and your horses and the rest of your herd. They're energy medicine sessions. They're very powerful, and I've been doing remote sessions for almost 15 years now, and I absolutely love them. I find them so effective. So if that's something you're wanting to try, you can always email me at alexa@alexalinton.com to set up a session.